up with what I have understood is a flamboyant tailor for a mum. Sounds wild. How did that influence your career, or did it influence your career?
No, it totally did. And my parents were really encouraging of my creativity anyway, that because they could see that from a young age. And yes, my mum was very colourful and very always a huge smile and yeah, massively into her tailoring and fashion. And she made all my clothes when we were little and as a teenager.
Was that a
And
good thing or a bad thing?
yeah,
Because if my
no,
mum
no.
had been making my clothes, it would not have gone well.
No, it was really, really good. And as a teenager as well. So we would design things together. We'd go to shops to buy the fabrics or go to the markets and look for beautiful fabrics. And so we do the whole project together, but obviously she did all the making. And she was so, so good. And she could make anything from scratch. So she did all the pattern cutting and everything. But if I look back, from a really young age, I'd be feeling those fabrics. I'd be looking at colors, looking at textures, looking at tailoring. So it's very much in my blood. It's just what I grew up with. And then I actually ended up doing textile design because I always wanted to be an artist, but I wanted to do something with drawing, but I wanted it to have a bit of a commercial angle and not just be a fine artist, you know, not being able to
And
make
why
a
not? Why
living.
did you not want to just be an artist, as you said?
I think again, probably in a positive way, influenced by my parents.
Okay.
So they both ran their own businesses and very practical as well, like loving life, but sort of down to earth. And like you can't be too arty farty and, never make a living and be away with the fairies. So
Wow, that's quite a contradiction that I don't think many super creative people have, right?
yeah, I think my dad's famous words were, yeah, it's great. You could do all your art, but you're going to be a normal person first. As in, yeah, go off to art college and do whatever, but we're gonna make you sort of grounded and because it's wonderful being creative, but I've got a lot of creative friends, artist friends, as you can imagine. Um, but being creative also often means you're really sensitive and maybe not necessarily organized and not very business-like. And it's such a shame because I know such talented artists who don't necessarily have amazing success because they don't know how to sell themselves.
That's actually quite interesting across the wedding industry as a whole, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah.
So, you're talking about, of course, artists specifically, but then if I think about wedding professionals across the industry, how many people do we see that in their niche are epic, but their businesses are not flourishing?
Yeah. And what I've often seen as well is those who are really successful often have a partner, either a business partner or an actual partner who runs the business side.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I
that
would
makes
think they're really lucky because they can just be creative, but they have someone else supporting them with all the practical.
And is
Uh,
that the case in your situation?
no, but I have got a very supportive husband who is lovely. And what's great is that he works in luxury car industry. So he's very accustomed to all this, we're in the same world really in that respect. And so he's, yeah, really giving me advice because he's been doing that for a very long time. And I've been working as a live artist for 10 years now. But when I first started, this whole sort of luxury side of things is not something, I was
Okay.
brought up with. And I didn't go to Ascot or I didn't, do all those wonderful things. And yeah, my husband was really good with sort of putting things in perspective as well, because this is another thing which for artists, but I'm sure for other wedding suppliers is the case, is we think, oh, can I charge, can I charge that money? Can I charge that much? And all you have to think of is these people, they might buy a handbag that's £4,000, way more than your fee. And they have lots of these handbags. And that's just one example. But I always remember that thinking, yeah. And they go on holidays where it's, and this is years ago when my husband was saying, oh, it's £30,000. And I was like, what? People spend £30,000 just on one holiday? And he'd be like, yeah, and they'll do that several times a year. And I really had to get my head around that.
Yeah, that is a huge learning, I think, for lots of people in the wedding industry as they start to go up the levels in terms of the budgets of couples, right? Because just because you wouldn't spend the 4,000 on the handbag doesn't mean there are not people who would happily spend that. And
Yeah.
actually, they don't want to spend less, right?
No. And one of my first weddings I did was a really lovely couple, a great wedding, and she had beautiful designer shoes. And by the end of the evening, she was on the dance floor, and all these little gems were flying off her shoes. They were literally falling apart. And she
Oh,
spent a lot of money on these shoes, which was more than my actual fee. And I remember looking at that and thinking, oh my God.
yeah. It's all about it's like perspective and contrast of what else they're spending on. Of
Yeah.
these incredible events that now of course you're fully established as being one of the best in your field, and you are at the most incredible weddings and events, often, are you not?
Yeah.
What's an event or a wedding where you've been painting and things are just going wrong around you? Not what you're doing, but things are just unraveling around you and you're like painting away, everything's great.
Oh. Oh no, like anything can happen. I mean, I was at an event which wasn't a wedding, but there was a power cut, and all of a sudden everything went dark. And I have my own light, so I'm completely self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I always say I can be in the middle of a field with my easel and I can paint day or night, whatever. Yeah, so I was able to sort of carry on and
What did
yeah,
the guests do? What did everyone do?
yeah, they, when people are partying, they don't want to stop, so they sort of carried on. But it was mad and it was weird, and, and of
So
course,
it's just pitch black and everybody's just cracking on.
yeah, yeah, it was a really crazy night. But I've even had. I mean, this was really awful, where it was beautiful celebration, and then this person collapsed, and all of a sudden he almost had to be resuscitated, and there were all
Oh,
these people around him, but it was right next to my easel practically. And then everybody was sort of ushered out, and they put up a screen around him. But I was on the other side, and I was like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?" 'Cause I couldn't help. Um,
no.
but equally, I was under a lot of pressure to try and get the work done, and I was like, "What do I do now? Do I leave? Do I come back?" And in the end, he was fine, and apparently, it was also to do with alcohol. But
Yeah, I'm sure that's not the first and not the last at an event that happens to. So when you're there and you're painting, and so just in case anybody doesn't understand, what is it you exactly do?
yeah, I don't do body paint on people. That's what people used to
Oh,
think. And
okay, they think you're going to give everyone a glow up and
yeah,
put sparkles all over them. Not
yeah,
that.
no, nope. So I'm a live event artist, and I paint stylish, flattering pictures of people. So I'm not a caricaturist. I don't make fun of people. I make people look good, like the best version of themselves, and I do
Like
that.
an Instagram filter, but in paint.
Yeah. And people are always like, "Oh, you've made me look slimmer." Or, "Oh, I like, I leave out detail as well. So I don't think it's necessary to have every, all the facial features and all those details, because for me, that's not what it's about. And maybe it's also because of my sort of fashion influenced background. It's that whole silhouette, and it's the clothing that I love. And also, I love people's mannerisms and their stance or the way they move, and that's what I want to capture. So you don't have to worry about wrinkles, but of course, I'll make sure that I get the best angle, which is why I often ask people to walk, and I do a short video. So I get them to walk a bit like a catwalk, because you look so much better when one leg's in front of the other. Instantly, your posture and everything is just very flattering. And with men, it's their jackets, because that will always hide a
Yeah.
belly if there is a belly. So of course, I'm going to make sure I get the best angle. And then, yeah.
But you're being asked to paint sometimes, what, 25, 30 people at an event?
Yeah, well, and also this is one of the things that drives me nuts, to be honest. Wedding planners out there, please don't ask a live artist. We've got a wedding reception, it's 2 hours. Can you paint 150 people? Because guess what? Nobody can. You
No.
can't do that. And even if they did, it's not going to look very good, is it?
How
So
many can you do at an event? Like, what's realistic for you?
yeah, so about 25.
Okay.
Um,
But that's still a lot.
Yeah, and but compared to some others, they might even do more because they leave out the detail of the clothing and they stylize it, or they might even go down the sort of cartoon style look, which isn't really my personal thing. You know, I've got a different way of painting. Um, so yeah, but I'm always sort of being pushed to try and paint more people. But
Mm.
for me, it's about exclusivity and it's about making sure that what I do is going to be really, well, the best it possibly could, but also for the person receiving it, that it's meaningful and special. And it's not just some, oh, funny thing I got at this event and then it disappears in a drawer or worse in the recycle bin. You know,
Yeah, no, that's not great, is it? When you put your love and care in something and then, oh no, we'll just toss it in the recycling. But has anyone ever had like an unexpected reaction to a painting of themselves?
or tears.
Of
Literally, no, no,
sadness?
no,
Or...
happy tears, happy tears. Like if people are emotional, I don't make them cry.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
happy tears. That's pretty strong.
yeah, and as soon as you put someone's dog in there or their children, then they're definitely yeah, they become emotional. And I think it's about capturing something that's more than, you know, just a quick sketch. There's something more in it that is almost, well, I believe it's almost spiritual, but you know, you put the essence of someone in a painting and then all of a sudden they see themselves as they've never seen themselves before, and it's that moment, isn't it? And especially if it's linked to a wedding or a special celebration, then they have that. And photographs are great, but this is just a different take on it. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And you and I have known each other for quite a few years now, and I'm not sure I've ever heard you put it in that way of kind of the more spiritual side that we're showing, and it makes sense because you're capturing an essence of a person rather than, as you say, with the photograph. Do people ever ask you for kind of unreasonable requests? Has there ever been something you've had to say, look, no, I can't do that?
Um,
Or maybe you said yes, it was unreasonable and you still said yes.
Yeah. Well, the most common one, but every live artist will tell you that. Like the men, they always want to be taller, and they want to, you know, more muscles and leave out the belly and then no wrinkles and all that, or more hair. Oh my God, the amount of guys who are very concerned about, you know, their receding hairline.
Yeah.
And then women always want to be slimmer and no, but one of the things that I'm not so keen on is doing big group paintings. So if you try and squeeze too many people into one painting, you just end up with these tiny little figures or half, you know, half a person. And it's just, that's fine for a photograph. I don't think it works so well in my paintings, not in my style. So what I have been doing lately are these montage paintings. So this is my new, after 10 years, and so I'm heading in that direction, and it's
And what's
really,
that? What's a montage painting?
well, it's actually I have got one here which was from Mexico. So it's not a wedding, but it's really colourful and it's really fun. So I go and capture the whole event
Mm.
in one painting. So um, it means I can capture the ceremony, but I can put the flower girls in there and the cake and lots of decorations and all the special moments. So that way you can put different people in there, but they can be different scales. So some can be bigger, some can be smaller, and it's
And you mentioned there that was obviously an event in Mexico. I know that you're traveling, lots, right? You're getting asked to go to amazing places. Where are you going or where have you been that's been epic, really stands out for you?
oh, I've been so many. No, because it's just it's also what they do as well. Like the location is amazing, but then what's happening there is really great. And I do corporate events as well, so not just weddings. And I did a corporate event for Fairmont Hotels and went to the Montreux Jazz Festival, and we went up into the mountains and we went to the founder of the festival. His house is still there, and it is amazing. It is so amazing because it looks out over sort of the valley. But so it's incredible because the whole house is filled, it's like a chalet, massive chalet, filled with artwork, but loads of musical instruments. it's so vibrant, and it's literally like for musicians, you can just pick up a guitar, you can start playing the drums, and they have, all the greats have actually been there, and they have just, jammed away, but what they put on was incredible, because it was an intimate dinner for select guests, and the sun was setting. They had these wonderful chandeliers, so they built this construction just for the dinner, but it was beautifully done, and it was amazing. And then Celeste, the singer whose voice I just love, I love her. She then performed live. So as the sun was setting and this beautiful tablescape, and then her vocals, and then with the house in the background, I was just like, I just want to pause this moment. Can I just pause this? I want it to last. It was beautiful.
And so they found you and just said, "We're going to fly you over. We want you." That must feel pretty special to you, that these incredible brands and people who have very big budgets are saying, "Lucy's the one." How does that feel?
No, it is. I'm still not embarrassed about it, but it's amazing, and I'm grateful, and it's exciting, and it's where I want to be. But it's still nuts when you do an event. It's like, okay, Diana Ross is performing and you're painting, and it's like, so in theory, I'm on the bill with
Yeah, you're on the team. You're on the team with Diana Ross, right? And do you ever worry? So, let's say you're flying somewhere, you're driving somewhere, whatever, and you're on the way to the event. And do you ever have that moment of thinking, gosh, I hope I can deliver today? Or, is there ever a moment where you have nerves?
No, not when I'm actually there, because I really like the pressure. I
Ooh.
think pressure is good. It helps you to focus. And also, if I'm in my studio at home, there are distractions, because I've got
Mhm.
3 kids and the phone could ring and this and that. And, there's all sorts of emails coming through. When I'm working at an event, I'm hyper focused, because even before I go, you're packing, you're deciding what to wear, you're already getting in the zone, you're already tuning in to the event and the people. And I can even get a sense in advance about what it's going to be like, even though I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's just the intuition. So then when I get there, I know I can deliver, because I've been doing this for so long, and I know that I've got the experience and the confidence, and that even if lights go out or whatever happens, I will crack on, and I can do it. And it's having that trust, and um, yeah, it's actually, that's the one thing I'm really happy and sort of proud of, is that yes, I can, put me on the spot, I will do it, and
I love
I'll
that.
enjoy it, because that's the key. You've got
Mhm.
to enjoy it. It's got to be natural.
And I think people who are not in our industry have quite a lot of misconceptions about working in weddings. What is something that people believe about maybe what you do or your world of weddings that just isn't true?
Oh, well, obviously, destination weddings, amazing, but my God, they're exhausting, because even just getting there, by the time you get there, and it could also be really hot, and you've got all your luggage, and you've got all the, that to chat. And I love traveling, don't get me wrong, but it's, yeah. So even just getting there, and then really long hours, because I always challenge myself, and you always push yourself, because people, clients are keen for you to do as many people, paint as many people as possible, or make a really large painting with lots of detail. There's always more work than you think. Most jobs, you go away and you think, that was more work than I thought, but I loved it. But it's never like, oh, that I finished early, that was easy. It's always pushing yourself. And my husband often warns me, and he's like, I think you're always pushing yourself a bit too much. And it's like, yeah, but that's just the way I am. And I want to deliver, I enjoy it, but you do have to be mindful and be careful to look after yourself. And I would never do things back to back. So I will really push myself. And there've been many occasions where I've worked all the way through the night, because I've had to deliver something for an event the following morning, knowing that I'd have to stay up all night, and then deliver it the following morning. And that's fine, but I make sure then that I've got I'm not off to the next event. You know, I don't do back to back. I don't fill my diary chocker because it's just not realistic. You're not going
And
to love.
have you always been good with those boundaries? Because again, I see, I work with a lot of wedding professionals across the world in different niches, and I see that holding boundaries that actually keep us well and our businesses functioning is something that a lot of wedding pros struggle with. But it sounds like you found quite a good balance where you know where to push yourself and you enjoy that push. And then when you know, okay, I need that gap in between. Has that always been the way, or is that something you've learned?
I think having children, we've got three children. They are a little bit older now, so teenage years, which is rather fun, nuts. But anyway, when I started, our youngest was only 1 year old,
Yeah.
and the other one were 4 and 5. So three young children, and my husband was only home weekends. So
Wow.
it was really full on. So there's absolutely no way you can be jetting off all the time and working away all the time. So I made that decision right from the start that it's going to be quality over quantity, and price, and charge accordingly. And then, yeah, for me, my children are number one. Like, I'm responsible for them and I love them, and while they are still at home, that's my role, my priority, to look after them. So
And as working mothers, as I am as well, uh, people love to say this whole having it all, right? That phrase. Has that been your experience of being a working mother? Can you have it all, or has something had to give occasionally?
I think what you do, you have to do it well. So, no, you can't be constantly socializing or constantly working or constantly be with your children. But so it's all about that balance, isn't it? So when you do something, do it well and enjoy it. But also, I'm really good at power naps. In fact, I had a power nap just before speaking to you because
Okay, I need to start incorporating that into my life.
yeah, 20 minutes. I've always done it. Again, my
Do you do it
parents.
before you paint? I picture you now arriving in Mexico, unpacking, quick power nap, and then off to the job.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Lucy, you're not originally from the UK, are you? Although we would be forget it's hard to even hear the twang in your accent these days. Where are you from and how did you get here?
Yeah, originally from the Netherlands, so Dutch girl, um, born and raised there. Went to art college there, did textile design, and then in my final year, I was talking to one of my tutors and about what to do next, and I didn't want to go and work straight away. I wanted to do a master's, and so she said, "Well, why don't you go to the UK?" Because I'd been on an exchange here and loved it in my second year at uni, and I thought, I know a place where I can go to do my masters. So then I moved to Winchester, and that's where I still am all these years later. Did my MA in textile design, but it was only meant to be for 18 months. Oh, 12, yeah, 18 months. And then I was going to go off traveling and do other things. And it only took one term, and I just absolutely fell in love with the UK, and I really feel at home here, like this is my home. And then after I made that decision, I remember calling my parents and telling them I'm staying, and they weren't surprised at all. And then I told my one of my friends, I said, all I need now is meet a nice Englishman who takes me out horse riding in the New Forest. And then I met my husband, who's from the New Forest and used to ride horses, and it's like, okay,
No! So you're like, that's it, I'm done. We're
I'm
here.
yeah. So I love it.
Are there differences between the wedding industry or Dutch weddings and UK weddings? What are some of those differences?
Oh, it's huge. It's so, so different, honestly. So the Dutch are very, sort of down to earth. Don't dress up. Just wear jeans to a wedding.
Really?
Yeah, don't even bother getting married. Oh my God, that's so, nobody's going to tell me what to do, sort of thing. So
Okay.
no, they I'm sure there are, of course, there are traditional weddings and they can go big. But if I look at all my friends and family, some are married but they've just kept it really small. And yeah, and it was even it's crazy because when you think of all the beautiful flowers there, and they're so much cheaper over there, but
Yeah.
you don't go big with flowers. Whereas here, you have these amazing big installations. And yeah, and also if you look at venues, we're so lucky in the UK. I mean,
Mm.
all these incredible country homes, all these big estates, and there's just so many of them. So
Where
many.
do you love working? And it might be more of a style of venue, or it might be a specific venue. Like, where do you love when somebody says, "Oh, I've booked this," and you go, "Yes, brilliant."
Oh God, you put me on the spot there. I I like it all, and I like going to different places as well because then it's like it's a discovery, isn't it? Every time you, oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is nice. And what I really love is that you get to go to these. Sometimes it could be a National Trust property, but
Mhm.
because you're there working and it's not the general public aren't there, you actually really get to explore the place. So you're not a tourist visiting a beautiful property with lots of other tourists.
Yeah.
You're just there exploring, or you might even be staying over, and that's what I really love. So every time it's like, "Ooh, where we go now?" And even just this is how I really got to know the UK as well, because I knew parts of the UK, but when you work in the wedding industry, all of a sudden you go all over, and I love that. It's always a surprise. Like, where are we going next?
And is there a type of venue that if a couple came to you and said, "We're getting married at this type of venue," your heart would sink a little bit?
Anything to do with Trump? Am I allowed to say
I
that?
don't know. I don't know whose visas he's stamping these days if you want to work in the States.
No, no, no. Okay, I'm banned
Is
now from
there a
the US.
style that just doesn't light you up?
Sorry, style
A
of
style of
venue.
venue. So if you were booked to go and do a job somewhere and the style of the venue, you're like, oh, this is gonna suck the creative juices.
No, I've not really seen anything. Not everything is to my taste, but I can really appreciate it. And again, it's that variety, isn't it? Where it's like it's just fascinating. I just yeah, I love exploring and seeing new places. And then the energy is always great though, isn't it? That people are celebrating, people are happy, all these people are coming together for all the right reasons. There's so much positive energy. It's not like I'm going to a really depressing office where everybody just wants to leave and
No, for
people.
sure. Desperate for 5 o'clock to come round. But has there ever been a point where you thought, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. Even if it was just for an hour or 24 hours, have you ever hit a moment where you thought, nope, we need to change?
Yeah, but this was years ago, talking about finding your boundaries. It's rare, but we do get heat waves in the UK.
Occasionally, and then we all moan about it.
And this was when our children were still little, and they'd actually come with me and my husband to Devon because there was a beautiful wedding on the beach, amazing. But it was, yeah, there was a heat wave, and so just sort of I mean, it's not far to travel, but still, when you're with children, and
Mm.
and then the heat, and it'd been a really busy summer, and I was at this wedding, and things took a bit longer because we had to travel around and then came back, and then I still had to paint. So I felt like I've already had a really long day and I hadn't actually painted that much yet. And then I set up, and it was lovely, and the people were amazing, and everything was great. But I got to a point where I just hit a brick wall.
Mm.
And I saw that, and I spoke to my dad about it afterwards, and he described it really well in that we can all push ourselves, but at some point you are going to hit that wall. And when that happens, you have to accept it.
Yeah.
Just accept it, realize it, and then look after yourself. You don't fight it, don't, just see it and accept it. And then, and of course, now I'm forever trying to avoid that brick wall because it's not a good place to be. It's really
And so,
awful.
how do you get your energy levels up? Let's say one day you're a bit more tired, the kids didn't sleep well, whatever had happened. What do you do to take care of yourself apart from your nana naps?
Well, I was just going to say, it's a power nap.
Sorry. Apart from the power naps, is there anything else you do?
Well, um, There are lots of things. I just sound really boring, but for me, a lot of it is about balance. So it's also looking after your body physically and doing your regular exercise, which I just enjoy, and good food. Um, all those things are just common sense, aren't they? But
Yeah. But we
I,
don't do them all the time, though, do we? And then
no,
we wonder why we can't keep going.
yeah, I'm just really consistent. So I am with a lot of things that I do. Like when I do something, I stick with it. So I
Yeah.
started doing Joe Wicks during
Oh,
lockdown. Guess
yeah.
what? Still doing Joe Wicks, you know?
Wow. That is, so you said, oh, it's boring, it's just consistent. But there are very few people in this world that are good at being consistent. And I was talking about this with my husband the other day. If you look at people who are at the top of their game, so, David Beckham or, it doesn't matter who it is, right? And they're not always actually the absolute most talented people, but they are the people who worked consistently to cultivate the piece of talent they were given. And there's probably people who had more talent than some of those people, but they weren't consistent.
Yeah.
And so they just fell by the wayside. So we say it's boring, but how many people are actually good at it?
But you know what it comes down to? Discipline.
Yeah.
But also discipline, I think, also comes from, we're going deep here, from self-love.
Mm,
So you believe in something, you're passionate about something, but you also love yourself, you look after yourself for the right reasons, not because you're a narcissist, but
sure.
and then there is that discipline. It all sort of goes together. And I have thought about this whole discipline idea a lot over the last couple of years, because I think as a society, we're lacking that a bit because
A lot.
and it's not just food, it's not just sleep, it's not just screen time, it's kind of, it's everything, isn't it? Where we have lost the discipline, because I think maybe way back religion forced us into a certain structure, and lots of things in society have always, used to be strict boss with strict office times, and all of a sudden everything's just, all those
Yeah.
boundaries are blurring, aren't they? Which is good because it's given us freedom, and it is a positive, but we're having to learn again how to discipline ourselves, but in a loving way, not in a horrible, sort of army style way.
Yeah.
Need to be done for the right reasons. And so I've been thinking about this, raising children myself, and it's like
Mm.
I want them to understand how important discipline is, and that we need that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was listening to a neuroscientist, psychologist person the other day, and they were saying that we're entertaining ourselves to death because we have everything so easy and comfortable, and that actually creates not a great headspace mentally, physically for most people because there's no discipline. We're not having to do any of the hard stuff, so you don't get the reward when you do the hard stuff because it's all just entertainment, whether that's screens or food or whatever it might be. And I was like, wow, that's so
And
true.
we have so much choice now,
Yeah.
and as women especially, and I am unbelievably grateful, because going back just a few generations, things were so different. My grandmother, so my maternal grandmother, lived in a time where the Catholic Church in Holland meant, they dictated everything, and it meant that she had no freedom whatsoever. She had 14 children,
Yeah.
not because she loved having so many children, but because she was forced to just carry on. And
Yeah.
when she wanted to go to work,
My Irish Catholic grandmother was the same. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and I just think she wanted to go to work when
Yeah.
the children were a bit older, but her husband said, no, you can't, So these women never had any of those opportunities that you and I have. And my mum, thankfully, did have, of course, way more opportunities, but she was still from a generation where the sort of education and the choice wasn't really there. They weren't really encouraged the same way that I was.
Mm.
So I am really, really grateful and grabbing the opportunities, as I can, because I know how lucky I am.
And you seem to have an inner confidence. Where is that true? And if so, where has that come from?
Yeah, thank you. Well, no, I have, but again, it's oh gosh, how to put that? uh, just being happy with yourself as well. Just be yourself, and if people don't like it, that's fine. You know, there are plenty of people in the world, and just love what you do. I get so much joy out of being creative, but also other things I do in life. So just follow your heart. Just follow your heart and be yourself, and things will fall into place. But of course, you know, the spiritual side of things is really important to me as well, and that gives me great confidence and guidance.
I love that. And there are people listening who would be looking at your career, looking at you flying all over the world and doing these incredibly opulent events. And, maybe they are just coming into the industry as an artist. What's the truth they need to know early on?
You need to start from, you know, the basics. You need to build the foundations, and you need to slowly build it up. I think it's rare for people to just take off straight away. There's a lot of work that needs to be done first, and everything has to be genuine as well. Like, you need to follow your heart and do who you are and what suits you. Do all that work, make all those connections, keep at it, be consistent, be disciplined, and but enjoy it. Like, enjoy every win and keep pushing yourself, keep growing, and then it will just happen. But in my case, it happened quite quickly. But that's also because when you're ready, and it will, yeah, yeah.
Was there maybe a mistake that you made early on that helped you to level up? Because I often think the best learning is in the mistakes, not in, if everything's going easy, everything's just flying, we're not often growing in that space. It's usually when we're either making mistakes or things are harder. So, was there a mistake early on that maybe happened for you that took it up a level, that you were able to really up level your business?
Yeah, so I've been an artist for 25 years plus now. And so when I graduated, I set up my own business, and I worked freelance as an artist and a designer for many, many years,
Mm.
not earning very much money. You know, it was often felt like surviving. I did well, and I slowly built up, and I got a bit more work, and got to a point where it was reasonably okay. But then I had children, and of course, all of a sudden you're, you know, housebound, and there are lots of restrictions. Then you have more children, you have more children. So there's a whole sort of long period where you can't work, you can't earn, and yeah, so then when I finally I wanted to go back to drawing and painting, my first love, and then I had this light bulb moment, I'm going to paint live. Um, that's when it's like, right, okay, if I'm going to do this, I can't go back to being this struggling artist. I need to have a business plan, and when I'm working, I have a really clear focus, and I'm going to make it work, because I can't go away and earn peanuts when I'm putting my heart and soul into it, and I've got children, and we've got a mortgage, and all those things. It's got to be worth it. It's got to be financially rewarding,
Yeah.
as well as, creatively fulfilling, and all those things. So
I think
that
you've said
really
something
helped.
super important there, because a lot of wedding professionals who run their own business and are creatives seem to have this weird thing in their head that if I love what I do and if I'm really good at what I do, so i.e. it comes kind of easily to me, it's not that it's not hard work, but it flows easily, then I shouldn't be financially rewarded. They have this weird issue in their minds. Have you seen this with people where they're like, oh, but I just love it so much? And if I'm honest, I remember saying that in the early days myself. Oh, it's fine that I don't earn that much because I love what I do. It's like an excuse we put there.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I've actually been listening to Lee Harris, and he's got some really interesting books. And there was one whole chapter about money, and then I realized, oh my God, I've got issues. They're kind of
We've all got issues of some sort.
but they go way back to childhood, where I was raised to think that money isn't that important and you shouldn't be aiming for to earn well. You know, you should just do what you do, but and live, but not, that shouldn't be your main purpose, which is true. But it's really okay to be financially rewarded, but it's taken me a long time. And then when you go to art college, it's kind of a given that, oh, you're going to be the struggling artist. Like, even with the other people there, it's almost
It's a
like,
story we all know, right? Oh, you're an artist, you're probably not making that much. Like
it's
that's what
like,
it
oh, you're never going to have a career. You know, my brother studied law, and like, of course he was going to have a career, and he's
Yeah.
50 and he can retire now. So,
Mm.
and it was never thought of like, oh yeah, Lucy the artist, oh yeah, she's going to do well. And people are still surprised now. And of course, I don't share how much I earn, but if I sort of, if they get an idea of it, they're like, oh, you're doing that, and all of a sudden they see you in a different light, and it's nuts, because we shouldn't judge. Like, there shouldn't be any judgment for how much you're earning, or like, we're all worth it. And um, but yeah, in this book, it was just really interesting because it talks about money and how money is perfectly okay. Like, it's not dirty.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay, and we all need it to live. And it's life as a graduate without money. That was my most stressful time ever, because it sucks the life out of you. You have no creativity, but also you have no joy because you can't bloody go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a weird topic, isn't it? And I do think it's weird in our industry because there's this other narrative that comes from our couples that we see on social media, which is, oh, as soon as you say the word weddings, the price goes up. Everybody's trying to rip you off. Everybody's trying to make a gazillion dollars out of every couple. And yet on the other side, there's all these wedding pros going, oh, well, I just love what I do. So I'm just going to charge this amount. And then they are struggling on the back end to pay everything. They're not rolling in a gazillion pounds. Do you see that?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And also, um, what I've been doing is I do invest a lot of my money back into my business, because I want to be at that top level. I want everything, you know, say graphic, I'll pay a graphic designer, I've got a VA, I've got a bookkeeper, I've got an accountant, I've got all these people that I'll pay to do the job really well that I can't do myself. And I will also bring an assistant to an event, so that's another one about managing your energy levels, and um, paying someone to help you to lighten the load for the work that someone else can do. Then do it,
Yeah.
because it's beneficial in the long run. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, and it frees you up to do the thing that you love, right? I had a similar situation a few years ago with the online membership when I ended up doing so much of the behind the scenes stuff, like uploading videos and I was like, I don't want to be doing this. And I nearly closed the whole thing just because I was ended up doing stuff that I didn't want to do. What I wanted to do was help wedding pros and talk to them and, do what I do. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just get somebody else to do that bit. And then I can carry on doing the thing I want. And I've got loads more time and energy to do the thing I want when someone else is doing the stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah, definitely. No, outsource, because it also means you can then grow. You
Yeah,
can't grow if you don't outsource those things.
yeah.
And then you keep the enjoyment, because it's
Yeah.
key to keep enjoying it and not burn out.
Yeah, 100%. And I think our couples feel it. They feel when we are genuinely joyful about what we do, and that helps them to choose us as wedding pros, right? Rather than, if they feel like you're burnt out or tired, or I always see when I get an out of office from someone saying, oh, we're right in the middle of wedding season and we're struggling to answer emails. And I think, why would you show people that you're not able to cope? It doesn't make sense,
No.
right?
And also, what you deliver, you want it to be a well-oiled machine that's really good and professional. You don't want there to be lots of hiccups where, oh, that email didn't go out, or
Mm.
things aren't working technically so well. Like, you need people. We all need people. Like, we in our lives way, but in your business as well. Don't do it on your own. And
So
then obviously connect with, people like yourself, become a member of TNL. But I'm also a member, for instance, of a business club in London, completely different, not wedding related,
yeah,
but connect just with like-minded people who will, just inspire you, but also you feel supported, because
yeah,
it's a bit lonely, isn't it?
yeah, I could not agree more. And thinking about our industry and our couples, what should we be saying to couples that we are kind of too afraid to tell them as an industry?
Sorry, say that again. So what should we be saying
So,
to?
what should we be telling couples when they're planning, when they're choosing their wedding pros, but we're all a bit afraid to kind of say the truth?
Say the truth. Why would we be afraid to say the truth?
Because I think we are, as an industry, we're scared to upset couples, we're scared to kind of hurt their feelings, and so we just we sometimes hide things, right? And we just crack on. Is there anything we should be saying to them?
No, I think just be gentle and supportive, but yeah, I'm again, this is probably where I'm very Dutch and and I'm honest, you know, which has been interesting living in the UK, where it's like, oh, I need to beat around the bush and tiptoe around and not upset anyone. Yeah, I think if couples need to know something, they need to know, and then yeah.
What's the most
You hear the
memorable?
barking?
No, no, we can't hear it.
Okay.
What's the most memorable wedding that stands out for you when you look back over the last few years?
There've been so many, and big and small. And they've been absolutely wonderful. But there's been some that where you just go, wow. So I did one in the south of France, and there's a best man, and there's whatever normally who speaks, and then it's like, okay, and the compere for tonight is James Corden.
Oh,
Oh, okay, well that's fun.
yes, love him.
And then it's like first dance, Florence and the Machine. So is that okay? This is really quite impressive. But then again, lovely intimate weddings
Do
as
you
well.
not always get to see in advance or know in advance all of these things? Because, I obviously come from the venue side much more. And so we would always know who was coming, if there was a big act, if that, I remember once we had Cool in the Gang as the main wedding band, and of course, super exciting, but we all knew in advance. So as what you're doing, you don't get to see the full wedding plan. So you turn up and you don't know.
No, and especially those big surprises, they will keep it a secret anyway
Yeah.
because they don't want it out. So
No.
there are often surprises. And you know what? Sometimes I did a really nice party this summer, and of course the planner was never going to tell me who the client was,
So
and
you
it
don't
was
even know who your couples are. You just turn up.
yeah. And this was actually this was all to do with film in the UK, and it was absolutely mind blowing. Literally, the likes of Nicole Kidman and you name it, they were all there. So that was really exciting. But yeah, you don't get told in advance, and then
So
there's a surprise on the day on the
you
night.
turn up and then you just see someone famous in a white dress and go, right, okay, that's my client. Good to know. Now I know who I'm working for. I always think though it's less fun when we can't shout about it. When I would work in the five-star hotels, they had you sign a contract that said, you wouldn't put anything on social media. And you'd see the likes of Beyonce and you'd have to just walk past and what you really want to do is get a selfie and put it all over Facebook, but you can't.
No, no. And I'm signing more and more NDAs these days, and it's going to be fun when,
You're like,
but
great.
you
Now when
can't
there's
say,
no end, now when there isn't one, you're just like, oh, boring. And so, Lucy, just to wrap up, what's some wedding trends that we've been seeing that you are now kind of over, that you're going to these amazing events, but you just, no, don't want to see that trend anymore?
oh, not so sure about trends, but what I do find talking about Dutch weddings and British weddings, in my experience, British weddings can be quite traditional, as in there's a format and everybody knows the format and they stick to it. You cut the cake at this time, you do this at that time. There's an order to it. Yeah, the Dutch don't really care about that, and I myself we got married on a stage at a theatre, so.
Wow.
Definitely didn't go for the traditional. I mean, this was years ago, so yeah, I love it when it isn't so predictable.
Mm.
It's nice when it's full of heart and full of, where it's just genuine, and it's also maybe a bit more spontaneous. Just sort of let it happen. I know you have to
I
plan
was
and
going to say the planners out there are
I
literally
know.
spitting their tea out. Spontaneous on a wedding day? What is this madness?
We didn't even have a seating plan. We just like,
Oh,
get your food and go and sit wherever you like.
oh goodness me, I'm getting a little bit hot here. I can't cope with this.
But
These
you know what?
words.
Our friends, and this is, so we got married nearly 20 years ago. And before I had all this experience with weddings.
Of course.
So I didn't think it was a big deal. I just thought, oh, this is just how we do it. And all our friends afterwards, they said, oh my God, that was just the best. Because they went from one surprise to the next. Because it
So
wasn't.
I am curious, what made you choose a theatre stage?
In Winchester, there aren't that many venues where you can have a lot of people. Like we did it on a shoestring. We didn't want to go all big and spend lots of money on our wedding. So we wanted to have lots of people, but have a small budget. We had 150 guests. A theatre
Wow.
is big enough. And you know what? As a bride, it's the best view ever. It's like the best view of my life. Standing on that stage, seeing all my friends and family in one picture, like in one view. Whenever are you going to see that?
No, that's
Only if you get married on stage.
I love that.
Yeah.
Lucy, thank you so much for being with me today. Where should people come and find you if they want to see more?
Yeah, go to Live Event Artist on Instagram and TikTok, or my website, liveeventartist.co.uk, and yeah, get in touch.